Okay.
Hello.
Hello.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. I
We
think
can hear you.
we hear each
Okay. Well,
other.
I'm
Is
glad
there
we're.
is there anybody out there?
Yeah, I'm glad
Yeah.
we're all here. We have this thing called daylight savings in the U.S., and I think the
Yeah.
rest of the world um, doesn't know about it.
Yeah, let's be honest.
So
Seth reminded us that we need to go live just 12 minutes ago. So
Yeah.
we were sure it's going to happen
Thanks for the
in
reminder,
another
first of all.
hour.
That's
So
good looking out.
I was sitting in the Zoom alone, and I was just wondering if you guys forgot about me or what happened.
What a
So yeah,
terrible feeling.
So, so daylight savings is something that just this is a little impromptu bit here. Daylight savings was
mhm.
18 late 1800s, late 1900s. So like 100 something years old. In order to, I don't know. I think some people said it was for the farmers, or some people said it was to conserve energy. Whatever it was for, this thing was started a while back.
Someone made money off it.
Somebody made money off it for sure. But the point is that it's affecting our show today, so you can see how everything is connected. Um, anyway,
So
so
say a
daylight
word about
savings.
say a word about TGT and what are we here to do
Okay,
with
so
it?
hello everybody.
Hey.
This is the Great Transition. We are three students of the Kabbalist Rob Lightman. We are looking at what's going on in the world during this historic time where we are moving from, and probably a lot of people notice it, although not enough. And we're hoping to spread spread what's going on. If you're wondering what the heck is going on in life, is this just, as my dad said, son, things are always changing. No, no, Dad, you don't understand. Things are really changing now, son.
This
Things
time it's a
always
big
change.
change.
So is that it? Is just, things have always changed. I mean, we were, I guess, some monkey who said to his dad, "No, Daddy, monkey, you don't understand. We're gonna be wearing clothes and driving cars." Ah, son, things are always changing. We used to be an amoeba. Well, yeah, okay, so fine. Things are always changing. We happen to be in the midst of part of that change, and I guess it was pretty dramatic if you went from being a sunflower to being a monkey. So we're in the midst of going from being a clothed monkey to something much bigger. So we,
That's pretty compelling.
Yeah, I like
yeah,
that.
I think I could have
like
done a
that.
better job if I was prepared for that. But we're students of the wisdom of Kabbalah. We're looking at what's going on in the world. What differentiates our show from other shows like this, where three guys sit around and talk about what's going on in the world, is that we're not here to make a commentary on the news. That's not why we pick these stories from the news, to just give our interesting commentary on it. Although that would be another cool podcast, and we could probably get a lot dirtier and deeper if we were to do that. Like if you're sitting in
Not
a
a bad
bar with a
idea.
couple Kabbalists, or at a barbecue with a couple Kabbalists, so come hang out with us, and that's where we can do that. But here, what we're interested in is Kabbalists look at all the things that are happening in the world. They don't look at them as tragedies or things like. They look at them as corrections. They see an entire process of development that's happening, and we're looking at we're zooming out, really, and we're using all of these events because in the meantime, while we live here in our bodies, right? You ever heard someone's like, I don't have any fear anymore in my life. I have no fear. Just these like very cavalier, stoic kind of people. I don't have any fear. Well,
Yeah, I've
actually,
heard that.
everyone has fear, and that's ridiculous. If you don't have any fear, you'd be absolute total psychopath. Fear is the other side of love. It means, like, if you really love something, guys. I'm doing a little bit longer here on the intro, but just
No,
warming
go
up
for it.
here.
I go for it. It
I'm
inspires
This
me
was
yes,
this is all
good.
totally
to add something. So
okay. This is all
just go
totally
ahead.
unplanned, but if you love something, if you really love something or someone, think about it. You fear losing them. It's two sides of the same coin, right? So while we're so you have fear and love. So while we're talking about this reality, if we came here for an hour every day, every week, and just said rainbows and love and happiness, like nobody would have any way to relate to that after 30 minutes of talking about rainbows and love. And
It'd get boring. Yeah, you wouldn't feel anything. Yeah.
right. So what happens is, if someone shined a flashlight in your eyes, you can't see. Even if the most beautiful thing in the world is in front of you, someone shining a flashlight in your eyes, you can't see anything.
Right.
But what happens is when you have some darkness and some shadow, all of a sudden you can start to make out shapes. All of a sudden you can start to make out dimension. All of a sudden you can start to make out qualities of what's there.
Color.
So we're talking about what's going on in the world in order to be able to look at the light. But because we can't look at the light straight on, we're trying to see the shape of the shadows, so to speak, of what's going on, and learn from the left, what's on the right, using a little bit of Kabbalah language. So
let me add to it. This is good.
Please.
We are totally, not. We were supposed to start right away with the
Right.
the story, but
Our
intro
internal
just
material is ready an hour later from now, so we're doing some catching up. Right?
I want to add something on top of that, which is really a good kind of setup. The prism that you've set up, Seth. The whole process that humanity goes through, not just humanity, actually, all of evolution, everything that you see happening, everything that we've learned that has happened, 13.8 billion years of evolution from the Big Bang, let's say. All of that, from a Kabbalistic perspective, through the Kabbalistic lens, is a process. Seth called it corrections. So what is that, right? It's a process of calibration, the development of sensitivity of the matter of creation. There is one creation, and it's gradually being calibrated and adapted, and it's developing towards its final purpose. It has a purpose, and its purpose has to do with becoming similar to the very force that created it. And from that huge super zoomed out perspective, we're looking at what's going on today in the 21st century, in mankind, on planet Earth, between people who are, greedy towards each other, or nice towards each other, or hurtful towards each other, and they use all kinds of relationships between them, such as politics and economics, and all of those, from a really zoomed out perspective, are the detailed corrections or calibrations that the matter of creation is going through on its way to its purpose, to its final state of development.
There's a lot of songs about this. You don't know what you've got till it's gone, or you don't you never miss the light when it's in it low. What is that song? You never miss the snow when it starts to snow. So
can we clip that? Can we clip that and put it on TikTok?
It's too late. They're already working on it.
Yeah, Jason's on it.
if you what are the lyrics of that song? I don't remember, but the idea is that when we go, it's the difficult times, it's the loss of something that give us so many discernments. If you're just, everything is great, you're sitting in the sun, you're drinking a coconut, this is wonderful, this is great stuff, to be hanging out at the beach with your friends and your loved ones, drinking out of coconuts. And then but if
nothing else happens,
if nothing else happens, it becomes flatline.
Exactly.
Right. And the loss, the hard times. Now we're not going to get into what's called like practical Kabbalah and how we go through all of our states and everything. That's not what we're doing now. We're talking more of a higher level, but everybody can relate to a time in your life where you went through something very, very difficult and then you came through it. But when you look back, how much did you grow? How much did you understand? I never knew people could be like that. I never knew.
This is such
that just tells you how much we don't understand about ourselves,
how much we don't understand,
how we operate and how we work,
and how much we understand things only in retrospect. You know what I mean? I mean, when you just said it, I mean, I have like the best and difficult example to even talk about, but my mother had cancer when I was 12.
Oh, it's really young.
And it's a very interesting thing. She does not study Kabbalah. She knows a little bit today, but back then, she had no idea about it, and so forth.
You just gave us a spoiler. It sounds like
And
everything's okay. Everything recovered.
yes, she got well, and she recovered, and she is alive and kicking at 75 today or something like that. But in any case, what I wanted to say is, in regards to that, even from a young age, I remember her saying that she felt like I needed to go through this. Like this is a very harsh thing to say, and this wasn't a simple thing. I'm not going to get into the details of it, but it wasn't like it wasn't a simple situation, and it was a matter of life and death, and it was a difficult recovery and everything. But she has a feeling like she needed to go through this, and it needed to happen in order for her to develop, to grow, to change, to learn from it.
Just a feeling she had.
It's just a strong feeling that she even. I don't want to go into all the details, but there's like all kinds of stories from that time that I'll say one. Like she remembers lying on a bed in a hospital with her eyes closed, and listening to the doctors talking. They thought she were asleep, and she was listening, and she understood what they were talking about, and that was the stage of like diagnosing, and so she understood this is bad. And at that moment, before even the experience, before she recovered and everything, at that moment she remembers that she felt that, with her eyes closed, listening to the doctors, making it look like she's still asleep, she understood she needs to go through this big thing now. Anyway, it's a harsh story. Sorry to take the atmosphere.
Asaf, I think everybody.
But this is a big thing.
I think everyone here can people especially who would be coming here to a show like this can, because many people go through life very, very unconsciously. But I think everybody here can imagine a breakup, a sickness, God forbid, or something like that, and can see how many what we call discernments, how we sorting out life. Right before it was just a blob called life, and then what we call discernments is now that blob is what is important to me, what is not important to me. Right before then there's this next blob just called life, and then something happens, and you kind of sort what is valuable, what is not valuable.
So the challenges of life, they force you to scrutinize what life is for, what life is about, and what's really important for you.
So what we want to go ahead, Chris, please.
The problem is that, like, you just awakened this, was that, for a person that has these individual experiences and they accumulate, like you said, like a blob, it accumulates, and then all of a sudden you have maybe a different perspective for that individual person, but there's no one really keeping track of all of these experiences that all of humanity is going through. It's like there's this one experience of the humanity as a whole, right? But no one's really able to tap into what has actually happened progressively and accumulatively. There's no gigantic overall arching experience understanding of what humanity has gone through.
That's kind of a big part of the wisdom of Kabbalah, though. This is essentially Kabbalists are like the geneticists of the human development, spiritual development process. And they see, in other words, the where all the, we call it reshimot, right, in Kabbalah, like all those lines of code that drive human development, and they recognize where we are more or less today, and what we still have to go through in its absolute value, meaning how it appears, how it comes on us, how it plays out, what kind of life experiences we will have globally, socially, individually. All of that is, that's up to our free choice, and how we will behave with these lines of codes and how we will want to experience them, but we have to go through them. I
So,
wanted
so
to, yeah, go ahead, go ahead.
when a body is
Yeah,
going through a sickness like you described, so the liver has its own experience, the eyeball has its own experience. The eyeball may still continue to work fine,
right.
right? The liver or the lungs or something else may be going through something. So the body, even in a sick person, uh, the hand may have no problem squeezing, lifting, drinking, throwing, whatever. So there's the experience of the entire body, and then there's the experience of the different organs. uh, our goal here now, and hopefully at this point everybody has lived into these examples that we're giving and they can imagine a time in their life. Now let's imagine that what we're talking about today is this same process, but for the entire humanity. That's really what we want to do here.
Yeah.
We're like we're talking about this process, not just, when I was 17 and I had my first real heartbreak, for example, or when I was 12 years old and my mom was sick, but now let's look at all of humanity, and let's look at the quote unquote corrections, not quote unquote, this is what we call them in Kabbalistic language, the corrections that humanity is going through. So is there something more that we want to say here before we jump
I
into?
do feel like because maybe for some people this sounds very depressing because we're basically saying there's a lot of horrible stuff we have to go through. That's what it sounds like, I think, to people who don't, don't have prior knowledge in the wisdom of Kabbalah. There's more to that. Yes, we do have to go through corrections, adjustments, emotional calibrations. That is what what the development of human consciousness, human desire is really all about. However, here is the big, huge thing that makes makes the wisdom of Kabbalah worthwhile. That's why the wisdom of Kabbalah is here for us. What does it give us to talk about it? Okay, so if we all just have to go through a lot of stuff, and it has to play out in all kinds of life experiences, good, bad, and ugly, then okay, what's the point of just knowing about it? The point is that while we have to go through a certain amount of data, of lines of codes, of states of development, of life experiences, we don't have to experience them in a slow and painful way. If we learn about these states of development in advance,
We need to get the emotional impressions from the events. So either we're going to
yes,
get the emotional impressions from our engagement in the process, or we're going to get the emotional impressions from sickness, break, all these kind of things on the flesh, as we say.
my 3-year-old is calling me from outside the door. So you guys continue.
I hear
Just
that.
give me a few
Ah,
I hear
seconds.
that.
Yeah, it's because of the time
You better
change.
attend to that.
Yeah, give me just a few
Yeah.
seconds. Keep
Okay.
going. No, I'm with you.
Okay. So I'm going to before we'll wait for stuff before we jump into the story. But the point is, like we're saying, that the value of this wisdom, the value of what we're discussing, is okay. So how can I go through these processes? How can I run towards these emotions? Because life is a blob that's coming at me. How can I start to make these discernments about what is important and where I'm going without needing tragedy in order to make those decisions? How can I decide? Everybody knows somebody who got sick and was like, that's when I decided I needed to eat healthy. That's when I decided I needed to exercise. How could we do that without having to go through the sickness? So that's what what's what the wisdom of Kabbalah is offering us,
Yeah.
how to go through these processes very quickly, called hastening the times. So guys, let's jump into where we are now, because specifically after our big world unity event that we had last month, we can all feel that the times are hastening, and hopefully we'll even be able to talk about some of the things that's happening with AI in the last few weeks. It's unbelievable how fast things are developing right now. But
It's
let's talk
crazy.
about something that very big that happened in last week. So traditionally, guys, a traditional business, ready for this, guys? Traditional businesses
Ready.
make
Yes.
more money than they spend. That's a traditional business.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so if I'm a baker, I need to pay my staff and I need to buy
Mm-hmm.
supplies, flour, yeast, and whatever. And if I spend $20,000 on my staff and $20,000 on supplies. I need to earn more than I need to sell more than $20,000 worth of bread, and then I can keep my door open for the next month. That's called a traditional business. Everyone should be familiar with that, right?
Sure.
Okay. However, in our modern world, there's a concept called a startup. All right. It's something very interesting, and everybody here knows many startups. Airbnb is a startup. Facebook started in a college dormitory. Instagram, Uber, Pinterest, Square, WhatsApp was a startup. Netflix, by the way, you guys are too young to know this, but Netflix started.
No, I'm not.
So you remember how Netflix started?
What do you mean, when they send it in the mail?
Yeah, that's how Netflix started. It was DVDs. Yeah. You would rent a DVD in the mail. They would send you a DVD.
But the name was still
I couldn't wait to go to the mailbox.
Ralph was 15 years old. The stuff's like, what's mail?
No, I'm older than Chris a little bit, but I'm uneducated about the origins.
Right.
Of Netflix.
Well, it wasn't here. You would sign up. You would get a subscription, and you could pay more for a little.
It was local.
Holding on to more DVDs at one
time. But wait, it was local. What, in the U.S.? It's a European company.
You have but this happened in the U.S. I mean, this whole thing blasted off,
and it was called Netflix at that point.
Blockbuster. Yeah, it was called Netflix. But you have a subscription. You say, these are all the movies I want to see. Then they send you the first 3 on your list, or depending however much you send up. You get them actually DVDs in the mail, right? You take them out of the little sleeve. You're done watching them.
Yeah.
You do the thing. And then when you're done, you send it back in the mail. And then if you've only sent 1 back and you have 2 still, then they only send you 1 in return. If you send all 3 back, they'll send you 3 new ones. So it was like kind of this like exciting exchange of DVDs all the time.
Yeah, in the mail. So this was Netflix. This is how it started. Today, it's a massive multi-billion-dollar company that creates its own content. Everybody knows Netflix is a streaming service. So unlike a traditional business that needs to sell more bread than what they spent on flour and yeast and labor, a startup, when they're beginning, they don't earn close to enough income to pay their bills.
Right.
They're growing. They need, especially companies like a Facebook, an Instagram, a WhatsApp, Waze, before they get sold to these massive, like before Waze gets sold.
So they need a lot of credit, basically.
They need tons of money.
Yeah.
They need what they do is they go out and they raise money, and so while they're developing the technology, like SpaceX, for example, I mean, they have a great CEO or whatever Elon Musk is, but while they're developing these technologies, a lot of times there's no revenue or very little revenue or nowhere near enough revenue to cover.
Right. They'll only make money in the future, basically.
Right. Right. So if you have a great idea, you go out and you do what's called a capital raise, round A funding, round B, right? You go out and you raise capital. And when you raise, so for example, you're a startup company and you go out and you raise $10 million for this great idea, some AI, something, whatever it's going to be. Okay. When you raise that money, so now you have $10 million cash. What are you going to use it on? Your developers, your servers, your programmers, research and development, all that kind of stuff. But while you have that $10 million, and this is how you're going to pay your people. What?
Payroll. Yeah.
Payroll, mostly. So now you have the $10 million. You're going to put it in a bank somewhere. Okay, so this is where SVB, the bank that failed, was holding this cash for tens of thousands of, maybe I think 60,000+ startups or something crazy like that.
Yeah.
Okay, so if SVB, Silicon Valley Bank, doesn't, and we're not going to spend too much time exactly what happened. Everyone can look up exactly how it failed and everything. We'll talk about it a little bit. When that fails, so then all of these startups don't have money to pay their staff.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what
which
that
is the
means
most concerning usually. Yeah.
So a lot of the innovation that we see now is coming from all of these startups. What happens is there's some AI generator, some filter on a thing. So what happens is Instagram will go out. There'll be some little startup that's making all of these filters, and Instagram will just buy that startup, and now that becomes part of Instagram. So all of these things that are happening that are driving technology forward, driving our modern world forward, this is a catastrophic event because this will set back the development of a lot of startups. We're going to get into it in a
Right,
minute,
and it
but I want
probably
you to kind
also
of
leaves some sort of a bad like a scarring, kind of experience, I guess. Like, I mean, if it were like easier for people who have the money to throw this money into startups, now it's probably everything. People are going to be more cautious, don't you think?
Definitely more hesitant. It's funny how it turns out how an economics issue really is a reflection of like this of like the general public's psychological state, which is kind of interesting connection
Okay,
there.
I
okay.
have more things that come up for me for this, but Seth, you take it
Okay,
Yeah,
away.
he wants to keep
yeah,
going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
really, this is there's so much we could talk about this. So what I chose to do was kind of put a bunch of things on the table without getting too deep on any of them, and we'll see. Maybe someone can also check if there's
Okay.
something going on in the chat also. So what happened during COVID, and you also see how like everything is connected.
Right.
Right.
So during COVID, I think just in the U.S. alone, $13 trillion entered the economy. I think 5 trillion for like COVID relief, 4 trillion for something called quantitative easing, 3 trillion for infrastructure. So mountains of money were printed. More money. Hold on, I wrote it down
Jeez.
here. More money than the U.S. spent in its 13 most expensive wars combined.
Oh my
Okay,
God.
a lot of money. So
Jeez.
what
Like
happens
nothing.
when there's tons of money out there is that well, a lot of things happen, but just normal supply and demand. If what is a pearl worth versus what is grass worth. If there's a lot of
Right.
grass, the price of it goes down.
So
If there's
tons
only
of
a few
money is
pearls,
printed, the value of money goes down, inflation goes up.
right? So interest rates went down, and people, we're not going to get into too much why, but interest rates went down. So now in a bank, I just want to lay the foundation a little bit without getting too deep again. This is the second or third time I'm going to repeat that, but there's a lot going on here. When the Silicon
Right.
Valley Bank, when a lot of investors had tons of money because they were making tons of money during this time, and they were investing in all of these startups. So all of these startups had tons of money. So they were putting the money into Silicon Valley Bank. So Silicon Valley Bank needed to do something with that money. It doesn't just sit there. They don't just open a door and there's a pile of cash there. They invest in stable things like government bonds, for example. The government bonds were paying a very low interest rate. I don't know what they're paying, 1%, 2%, but it's like a
Yeah. The
stable.
bank, they want to make money too, you know? Yeah.
Okay, so the bank takes the cash and buys something stable like that. Well, because of inflation, so the government started to raise interest rates. So as the government raises interest rates, all of those 1% bonds that the bank had, nobody wants them anymore. They're worth nothing.
Uh-oh.
Right. So anyway, it continues. It continues. There, the point
So what they were
is
holding on to was what wasn't worth as much. That's kind of what you're saying.
what they
Because
were holding
they
on
bought
to.
something
Right.
that was
Nobody.
worth less all of a sudden.
Right.
Okay.
Right. So we also have to mention that the CEO of the bank lobbied for less regulations after the 2008 crisis. The federal government wanted to put more regulations on banks so something like that wouldn't happen. The point is that when you have so much money, the rules are different for you. You get to make different rules. So here's what happened in the last few days. So if the government, the Federal Reserve, said we will buy back all of your worthless assets, those government bonds that nobody
At a
wants,
loss.
we'll
Yeah.
buy them. We'll buy them so that you don't have to keep losing and going down. The point is like this: if you need grandma needs some medical treatment and you don't have money for it, who's going to come fix that? Nobody, right? Little kid needs he doesn't have lunch money. Who's going to come fix that? Nobody. But if you are, your bank's making billions of dollars, the government again and again and again comes in and fixes that for you.
Well, they're fixing it for the whole. They're technically fixing it for everybody else. I mean, if they want to isolate an issue and have it not spread quickly or make it more dangerous or catastrophic than what this isolated incident was, then they have to do something like that, which is kind of like, it's hurting us as well. There's, of course, there's no consideration, but you also have to think from their side, like, what else are they going to do? I kind of at the same time almost don't blame them for that.
Here's we have an expression
action.
in the wisdom of, we have another expression in the wisdom of Kabbalah called the sorrow of, what is it? The sorrow of raising children or something like that.
Yeah.
Right.
It basically growing pains. That's what it means.
Okay. So here's the thing. If you see your kid is having trouble with his homework, and so you do the homework for him, so he can get a good grade and doesn't have to be so stressed out. And then you see your kid's having trouble with the other kids in class, so you come in and solve it for him. And then another thing, and you come and fix it. What's going to happen to this kid when he gets older? So the point that I really wanted to drive home through this whole story is greed is at the heart of our economy. And every time we come to a crisis like this, instead of letting it, like we said at the beginning, when I went through that heartbreak, I really learned about myself. I learned about human nature. I learned about what's important to me. I thought that these values were important to me, but after this relationship, I understood that what I really care about is this. Before I got sick, I just wanted to, make more money and do this. But after I got sick, I realized that family was more important, and I needed to, take care of my health and do, spend more quality time with my children. When you have crisis like that, you really get to look at what's important and make changes in your life. But what we keep seeing happening over and over again is when these crises come, I don't know who to blame it on, but these forces, the governments, the regulators, the lobbyists, the billionaires, whatever, they come in and they find ways to ease the pain or fix it or get around it so that it doesn't have to land. The crisis doesn't have to land. But so what happens is we just keep pushing the learning further down the road, and we're making these discernments much more slowly, and we're going to keep having to go through them and keep having to go through them. That, I think, is the most, from all of this, I think that's the most.
It's like basically you're saying we're not learning, and it seems like until there's like such a bad crisis that just drives everything to the ground, where it's like really a catastrophic economic event, we're not going to change the system.
Okay, so this is a huge point. So there's two things there. One is until it strikes to the bone, stings deep, we won't have any need to change our ways. The other part of it is, though, what we discussed about the wisdom of Kabbalah. Does it need to be totally catastrophic?
Right.
Or is there another way to go through this?
Oh, okay. Here's how I would like to, where I would like to take it. Okay. The first of all, you gave a few minutes about how the failure of the bank happened, how it collapsed, basically what was the problem, how the bonds that the bank invested in, they lost their value, something of that nature. And as you said, that we can go into many, many more details. But I want to share something. First of all, I'm not a financial expert, and when I was educating myself a little bit about what happened, in preparation for this show, I'm like, okay, I saw that very quickly that you can go deeper and deeper into the details, exactly what they invested in and when exactly what allowed them. There was a deregulation that the SVB CEOs or something also lobbied for, which allowed them to do. It goes in circles, and you can go into a bunch of details. But when you zoom out and you just ask yourself, wait a second, is it really that complicated? I'm kind of seeing that, you know what? It's actually not complicated at all. Because behind all of the jargon and the overly highly intellectual economic, devices in the stock market and all of that crap, excuse me for the French, the bank wants to make money. It's that simple. It invests the money it holds in stuff, stocks, bonds, whatever. Essentially, the bank ignores the risks or doesn't properly manage the risks because it is run by something called a human being. At the end of the day, there are these things called human beings that run the banks. And what the human being wants is to make a profit. That's it. It's as simple as that. And after all of the those circles we were running out, chasing our own tails, trying to understand what happened, it's very simple. When the human being wants to make a profit, it wants it so bad that it's willing to be blind to the serious risks and not properly manage the risks.
There's no reason to even
completely.
It's so simple.
Or ignore them completely.
It's so simple. That's it.
There's no reason to even bring up morals or ethics, because at the root of it all, a person, you're calling it make profit, we are a creature who needs to fulfillment. That's it. And we don't have any control. If the fulfillment is strong enough, we have no control over stopping.
Right.
Everybody can recognize that in their life. If the fulfillment in front of I'll deal with the shame later. And even if the shame will be terrible, I'll deal with it later. But if the pleasure is so great in front of my eyes, so a smart person will not put themselves in an environment like that. They'll put themselves in an environment that values the things that are really important to them. Because once you put that such a great pleasure in front of a person's eyes, any person, it's impossible.
Yes,
it's impossible because
he's also got
nature of
what's
the creature.
The difference between
at
the end of the day, all of this game in the stock markets that banks are investing in and CEOs of this company or that company or people, at the end of the day, it's like going to Vegas. They're gamblers. That's it. It's just it's
fun. It gives you life. It gives you the feeling of life. Taking risks, living life on the edge.
This is the problem with
$60 billion.
This is the problem with the human being, right? I mean, that's the nature of the human being. We have to try to get more. We have to try to get more profit.
Let's also differentiate.
We can't just be happy.
Though.
We can't just be happy with what we have.
Let's differentiate, though, why we are not a bunch of monks. Though, let's differentiate why we're not a bunch of religious guys here talking about if only humans could control themselves.
No, I'm not saying to control. Okay.
Because this quality.
Here's the thing.
Is actually the quality. Yeah.
Wait. Let's. I think people have to first feel that, right? We take what happened
unabashedly, without shame.
Yeah, exactly. That's what we are.
Be honest with ourselves.
That's what people are. If you were the CEO of SVB or whatever, if you were, in these positions of power and money, surrounded by that kind of influence, being able to make such a profit with, you would make the same calculations. It's very simple. Now, here's the thing. We've built our entire economic system around the world is a system that is built on constantly having to move more and more money. It has to be constantly growing because people have to be making more and more and more money. The system is built in such a way where if someone is not making more money, the wheels of the economy at the other end of that person are not moving. That's important to understand. Again, without being highly intellectual about it, without being, very like a financial expert about it, it's very simple. For people to move, for people to run a business, for people to make products, they need to get profit. And when they get a certain profit, they want more. If they don't want more, they're not going to work. They're not going to invest. They're not going to do more. And so our entire economy is built on infinite growth. Can we just grow, 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 grow? Now, the funny thing about it is that our economy, global economy, I'm saying, it's because of that, it's actually not designed to economize. It's not designed to maintain balance, to keep everything maintained, working properly.
It's exactly the opposite.
It's exactly the opposite.
It can't be balanced if I have to look for profit all the time.
It relies on increasing disparity, not balance.
Right.
It relies on someone at the top making more and more.
Taking more.
Otherwise, so we have
taking more as opposed to someone else because that's how it has to work. It has to be that on account of.
Exactly, because it's a zero-sum game at the end of the day, and you can't make the very essence of making a profit for us, for a human being to be satisfied, is to get more than you had before, and that ultimately means more than someone else, and so forth, and disparity grows. And so, what are we saying now? That first of all, if we don't change the human being, you're not going to end up with anything better. So what are we saying then? That we need to change the profit motive? That the profit motive has to go? That's where Seth wanted us to get into, right? Like, you're looking at people listening to us and saying, "Oh, we sound like a bunch of people who are saying no to, you are evil people. Stop looking for profit." Here is the thing. Here is the thing. Kabbalistically speaking, we're not the profit motive. Let me be harsh, and then I'll pay it off.
Don't ease it too quickly, though. Let's draw it out.
The profit motive, as it is right now, is gonna have to go. It's gonna have to go. We are in a global interdependent system. You're going to see more and more and more how everything's interconnected, everything's interdependent. There's a domino effect around the world, and the more we develop, the more our technology connects us, the more that the information connects us, and so forth. You're going to see...
You mean profit motive? You mean I can't start a business and as the primary goal to make a profit. That can't exist anymore.
To make a profit, an increasing profit that keeps this becomes the drive of the economy. So immediately now people will jump at me and say, "Okay, so you guys are communists." That's what we're doing.
Let's make a discernment about that, because you can take the quality of those profit-driven people. That quality can remain and even get more intense and even get more strong, but the game has to change. Not just the profit, because tell me.
No, I said I'll pay it off. So I making a profit in the sense of getting,
because the way you're saying it makes it sound like these people are gonna suffer. Not okay. I'm not letting you finish.
So the idea that I am going to be making more and more and more and more profit, which means, what does it mean to make a profit? It means that I have more power over the entire system, over others. What does it mean that I have to constantly have more zeros in my account? More zero, another zero, another zero. It means that I want to have potential power right? Because money is ultimately, in our world, it's power. It's the power to do whatever I want. So that idea that individuals are competing for getting as much power over the system as they can, that has to go. Am I saying that people will have to live without wanting to make a profit? No. I'm saying that we're going to have to aim for a higher profit, for a much greater profit, for a profit that is not measured even in dollars, for a profit that is beyond matter. And that's the
you first have to care about that. Right now, I only care about dollars.
Of course, right? At the moment that because that's what we think. We think that this is what brings us the pleasure. But that is completely virtual. It's completely immaterial. So the kind of profit that we're going to be working for in a future society, when we will be changed people and we will make a different kind of balanced economic system that actually serves people, serves our health, serves our well-being, and so forth. In that kind of system, the producers and creators and, job creators or whatever, they will be people aiming for a profit. Yes. But
so there's still competition. There's still profit.
There's still profit, but the profit is beyond more zeros in my bank account.
You can't even say what the profit is because it's so you can't even grasp what it is though. You can't grasp what it is right now. How could you explain to me anything other than
imagine?
Good?
I think we can gradually. It requires some learning for people, but I think we can gradually get that. When people have more zeros in their bank account, what are they enjoying? I mean, you already have whatever you need to have.
There's a few layers to that.
You feel there is pleasure.
Yes.
In if you're walking down the street, you feel one way. We talked about this, I think, last week. If you're walking down the street and you know you have $1 million in your pocket, you feel different. It doesn't mean you're actually even buying anything. There is pleasure.
Security.
Security you get much earlier. You don't. Why continue? Why keep going and growing and growing and growing and growing? What do you get from it? What do people get from it? Mm-hmm. What is it? Is it really the money?
Pride, being above, trying to
power,
just
pride,
try to be more than everyone else.
Confidence, being more. Okay,
but so and you see that's what happens. There's at a certain stage you have this much money, and then when you add that extra zero, you're thrust into another tier where the game is a little bit different. And we've even heard Elon Musk and everyone talk about how they're just competing for zeros. They don't even care anymore. It's like the game is such where it's like, the only reason they're making this next move is to get that other zero because then they'll have another zero above that.
Imagine
we've heard that word for word.
That your drive is to improve the well-being of everyone in the world. Imagine that your reward is in helping, pushing humanity to a better, more prosperous, successful, healthy, positive state of being. And everything that you do for that, you feel it. You feel it as your own benefit. You feel...
Wait a second. So who's rewarding me? Where's that coming from exactly? I feel... Mm-hmm. That's hard.
Okay. Let me try this. Let me try this route.
It was the right direction. It's just keep going.
Okay.
Right, no.
Imagine the power today that marketing and advertising, huge part of the economy. Without marketing and advertising is needed. Why is it needed? Because companies realize that in order to get people to buy, we have to create desires in them constantly. We have to get them to compete with each other for status symbols. We have to get them to, from a very, very early age, to tell their mommy, I want this, I want that, because I saw it in this commercial, in that commercial. We have to always give people a sense that they don't have enough, that they're not worth enough if they don't have this car or this jewelry or this thing or that thing. There is constantly billions and billions and billions and people and creativity and passion put into marketing and advertising in our world in order to do what?
I'd probably say trillions.
To trillions, yeah. In order to do what? To get people to continue passionately participating in the game so that we, the creators of the companies or whatever, the shareholders, we can make more and more money all the time, right? Imagine if, what is this?
Right. Exactly. That's a person with a stick. Yeah, it takes a while to see that.
With a stick
It's a person with a stick.
It's a meme. I don't know where it came from, but it's a person with a stick poking at the United States, saying, "Come on, do a war." It's representing exactly what you're. It's representing exactly what you're saying. If look at all of these companies here who make their money from perpetuating this game, this profit game you're talking about.
So imagine if all of the power and focus and passion and potential and resources, human creativity, all the stuff that's going into marketing and advertising today, take all of that, don't throw it away, take the same power, passion, and resources and human ingenuity and creativity and so forth, and put it into the goal of, instead of getting people to buy more stuff, put it into the goal of let's be of best service to everyone in the world. Let's help all human needs. Let's help prosperity for everyone's. Let's take into account how can we improve everyone's well-being, our mental health, our physical health too. What if all of that power and passion would be put into that? We would immediately, just by doing that, we would start seeing a completely different picture of human life on planet Earth.
Because then I don't need to wake up and think about how am I going to make money today? How am I going to survive today? Actually, don't ever need to have that. I don't have that thought again, is what you're saying. If that's how it is. If that's the economy that turns into, I actually don't need to be concerned with
the whole
with
economic,
anything,
the economic system today. All of it, it serves one purpose. It serves the motive, the profit motive. That's what the economy is built for. If it was to serve balance and health and prosperity of the human species, we would then use it it would become a balanced economy.
So here's the folly of the Gretas, of the the Bernie Sanders, of the everyone, of all the world reformers of the world.
Mm-hmm.
It's a small group of people who's going to go fight against Wall Street. It's a small group of people who's going to go fight against climate problems. It's a small group of people who's going to go into the lion's den and try and fight that. Now, here's the thing. Like we just said before, the human is a creature who needs fulfillment.
Yes.
If the government, like how did the 2008 financial crisis happen? How did all of these crap mortgages get a AAA rating? Because somebody at the rating agency was paid. How could you pay somebody? With enough money, you can pay somebody. That's how it works. Because a human needs fulfillment. So in each of these situations, if everyone's going to profit, you can't change. It's like I'm going to go and I'm going to like Siegfried and Roy. You remember these two guys, Siegfried and Roy, who had the white tigers? Yeah. They were in Las Vegas. They had
didn't end well.
Two guys who had a show in Las Vegas for I don't know how long, and they were like magicians or something, and they had white tigers, and they lived with tigers in their hotel rooms or something in the towers in Las Vegas. At some point, after 20 years of living with the white tigers and having them in their cage, one of the tigers like mauled one of the guys or something. It's like at some point, the nature of the animal is going to come out.
Right.
So what do we do as Kabbalists? Because a Kabbalist could be that same person in Wall Street who would be the most ruthless. But you take the qualities and you plant it in a different environment. You don't try and
It
do it
serves a
in
different goal. Yes.
the same qualities which are given by nature, which came to you after billions of years. You're not trying to hold back the waterfall of 14 billion years that made
look
you
at
exactly
look at how this plays out in everything in our daily life. This is not we're talking about today about something that is in our material experience of the world daily. You know, when you open your phone and you scroll your feed, that feed works in such a way that it's designed ultimately to maximize your attention, to spend as much, but to capture as much attention from you as possible to increase the chances that you'll buy something. That's really what the whole feed is for. That's ultimately what it's for. And so just think about that. Take the people who are the engineers and the programmers and so forth, and think about the capacity that they have if you were just to change the goal. Let's learn everyone's needs in order to help them with what they need. What if my feed was actually designed to do that? What if my feed was designed to, yeah, go ahead.
I'm waking up in a that already. I can even imagine it. Maybe we can imagine a little bit more than other people who might hear this, who haven't been somehow really trying to draw a reality like that into our reality. But you can kind of smell it. You can kind of see that if the motivation to participate in the world is changed, it's just a little. And even Bala Salam says it. It's a little psychological switch, and you can imagine to yourself that you're making that psychological switch. You're changing the carrot, right? And if you imagine to yourself that the psychological switch is not for just to care about my own needs, because basically at the end, that's what you're saying. Instead of thinking about my own needs, I'm thinking about the rest of the
I'm
the
saying
world's
there's
needs
a higher
somehow, a little
profit.
bit.
I'm saying there's a much greater profit. Even today, when millionaires are thinking about their next million and billionaires are thinking about their next billion, they're trying to fulfill within themselves an emotional need, a non-material need, and they're trying to put it into matter. That's why we have a sick system, because we're trying to use money to fulfill a spiritual need, and that need of ever growing pleasure. That's what we want at the end of the day. We want to be fulfilled more and more and more. That's possible. That's actually possible, but not through materialism. That's it. So we're just
But just
wrong.
think about how much that changes what you even see in the world. You wake up and you look at your phone and you're looking at it different. You're looking at you open the window, you see the cars drive by, you're looking at them different. You're not seeing just a bunch of things driving. You're seeing this thing that you're a part of, right? You're a part of if I don't do that, then I'm not going to feel good. Just the same way, if I don't make $1,000 today, I'm not going to feel good. If I can't fulfill that spiritual desire that you just said, if I can't do good, which is my profit, if I can't do that, that's when I feel bad. It's just change. You put on completely different glasses and you're living in a different world.
And I don't think it's as far from the human condition as we think about it. I really don't think that it is. No. Of course, Seth will say that I'm giving credit now to everyone.
If we're already talking about it, it's not too far.
But why am I saying?
What I would add is, go ahead.
I'm saying it's not far because it doesn't even, to start this, just like Bala Salam writes, it's a psychological shift inside of us. It's not even a spiritual revolution yet. That will come later.
Right.
People just need to just think about it. What is I need to kind of change from my goal is to gain as much power as I need over the system versus by making more and more and more and more profit, versus my goal is to positively touch every person in mankind, every person in humanity, and receive and be in great a healthy, positive feedback loop with all of the system, with all of humanity.
And
I
by
want
that,
to feel
I'm fulfilled.
like exactly that gives me fulfillment. That gives you a much greater fulfillment, and that shift is not that far. It's just we're just on the other side of it.
So what's our practical
yeah.
advice as we wrap up here? Our practical advice here is whatever qualities you have, as ruthless as you think they are, and if you study yourself, you'll discover that we all have all of these qualities in us. Be who you are. Don't try and fight the waterfall that for 14 billion years has developed you to be like this. But come and be part of what we're doing. Come and be around people who are changing. We're not trying to jump into the middle of Wall Street and fix things. We are trying, here, this is from our teacher, paraphrased.
Go for it.
All of those billions of people are small desires that are following whatever they're, this is paraphrase, isn't exactly from but are just following what they're told to do by the media. They don't have any free will. But our desire to connect everyone with a good attitude is qualitatively billions of times greater than that force. We don't need to be concerned so much with everything they're doing. We need to be concerned with our environment, with the spiritual environment, with building these good connections. We need to be concerned with how we will be representatives of the good attitudes towards one another and humanity. Take all of the qualities that each and every one here has, and let's add it into being the representatives of good in humanity. And one spark and another spark and 3 sparks, all of a sudden we have a small flame. 50 sparks, a bigger flame. 100 sparks, a bigger flame. We're going to reach this critical mass. We're going to do it together. Thank you, everybody. And for those who are watching us in recording, I don't know when the times go back between the Eastern Hemisphere and the Western Hemisphere pretty soon, but we're following Eastern Hemisphere times, so Western Hemisphere time, sorry.
So next week, 2 p.m. Eastern, and it might not still be the right time in our... Okay, we'll figure it out.
Just Google what time is it in New York when it's 2 p.m.
2 p.m. Eastern.
That's when we'll be doing the show.
Yes.
Thanks, Chris. Thanks, Asaf. Big hug to everybody. We'll see you soon.
Yeah, it's time.
Wake up, tell me how are we gonna overcome? Wake up from the hatred and separation. Wake up, we got to cover it with love. Wake up, tell me what is happening with our nation. Our union's been overrun. Wake up, we got a sticky situation. Wake up, the time is now to get stuck on love. Wake up, we got to find a new way to love. We're calling out together. We've been trying to fix our way. Help us change our nature. We want to live in love and unity. Wake up, friends, we ain't got no time for wasting. Wake up, rise and shine the light of love. Wake up, been told the times that we can't hasten.